I genuinely have to say thank you so much for Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, because I described it to a mate last week as Despicable Me for adults. I loved it. I had so much fun with this film. And Kristen's a bit of a genius, I think, in terms of her physical comedy that she can do. And I love that she almost spreads that vibe around her entire cast, it would seem. But talk to me a little bit about Edgar and what the appeal was for you about this film and this role.
Well, to be honest, like, it was just the two of them, it was Kristen and Annie, and their brilliance and their genius. One of my favorite things in the world, pieces of art, offerings, whatever you want to call it, is a SNL sketch that Kristen did. It's Liza Minnelli.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah.
To me, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And obviously, that beyond her sketch stuff and SNL days, she's just got this incredible body of work, and they're just so smart. And I was kind of sold purely on the title, and like, even hearing you say it there, every time I hear Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, I laugh and I smile and I go, Jesus, like, what is that craziness? Why aren't more films called something like that? I hadn't been too quiet about wanting to do a comedy. I'd sort of told enough people, and certainly told my people. I'm with UTA in LA, who represent all the big comedy people. So I felt like it would happen eventually, but I didn't, and I really wanted it to, but I didn't think it would happen at that level straight away. I didn't think I'd be doing it with the likes of Kristen and Annie straight away, and obviously unbelievably powerful producing team behind it of comedy, titans of comedy themselves. So it was just mad, but literally, I promise you, off the title, I was like, yeah, 100% I want to do this. I wanted to talk to Josh Greenbaum, the director. If you guys hit it off, then we could probably make this happen. I was like, great, listen, let's do it. I read the script, loved it, laughed the whole time, and I jumped on a Zoom with Josh, and Josh and I. It was that thing of, I felt like I'd known Josh my entire life, and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. Like, it was, usually set aside an hour for those calls. I think we were on for like over 2 hours, laughing and talking nonsense until it was like midnight here, because he was in LA, and I was like, dude, I just actually have to go to sleep. I could talk to you all night. Yeah, it was a really easy decision.
Was the song and dance number in the script?
It was one line.
No. What was the line? He skips across the beach in song?
Not even, didn't even have that much information. It said Edgar performs an emotional song or an emotional dance. It might not even have said song. And actually, I don't think even when I arrived in Mexico to start shooting it, I don't think they planned for me to sing it. I think they thought it would just be like, they had it recorded by the time I got to Mexico, and with a professional singer or whatever, and I think they just thought they'd keep that in, and then it was alluded to the fact that I could sing a wee bit, and maybe I could do it and give it a go. So we did that. But no, I think on my second Zoom, once I knew I was doing it, he said something about when you come out to Mexico, and you'll have 2 or 3 days of doing dance rehearsals and stuff, and I was like, why? And he's like, so I didn't want to act like I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, It honestly wasn't until I got there, and I started doing this. I was sort of thrown into this sort of dance rehearsal, and I was like, hold on, what is this for? I don't even know. And they're like, your big dance number. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I had to like call like Josh and arrange a meeting with Josh and Kristen and Annie, going, what are they talking about? Said, oh no, now we see that as this big, emotional like number. We're going to take 2 days to shoot it, and
Amazing. Have you danced before? Like, have you had dance training? Because, like, seriously, those pirouettes are pretty impressive.
I'm going to say that what I'll say is it's not all me. I'll say that.
Don't shatter the illusion.
There's moments that it's me, but actually there's moments where you're meant to definitely tell that it's not me, for the comedy of it. And just before I do the spin, like I'm spinning and I'm a wee bit off balance. But I'm sort of spinning, and then it clearly goes to this like guy who's amazing. He didn't speak any English, and I just kept coming in and going, "Man, thank you so much. You look so cool. It's been great." I think he muster like, "Thank you." You know what? I can only. This is quite good because the moments where I'm being silly, it's not that I don't have an appreciation for dance or I don't take people who dance professionally seriously. Or I can't go to something contemporary dance, whatever, classical dancing, and enjoy it and really appreciate the skill. But I can't dance seriously. I can't see. I can only take the piss when I'm dancing, whether I'm at a wedding or wherever. I'm never like sort of like in it, like really. Like I'm taking the piss all the time. And I'm trying to make whoever I'm dancing with laugh, and I'm joking about that. So I can't dance seriously. So it kind of worked out well for me that I have to dance in this comedy. And yeah.
It must be like, because I mean, listen, I love that whole notion of like when you're out and you're like dance like no one's watching, all that kind of stuff as well. But when you're doing something like this for work, it must still kind of release all those really happy endorphins in you, and you kind of come away, because it's just, it does it, watching it, it just makes you smile, it just makes you feel happy. Does doing it feel the same thing as well?
I think so. I think there's such a risk with any putting out anything, like we all know that, and we're on. It's very easy to comment on the doing, but the doing of it is difficult. You're putting yourself out there, exposing. Every artist can relate to that. But with comedy particularly, it's like, Jesus, like this, people might not find this funny. You're really going to... And we were so in it by that stage, we're all so engrossed in it. We're all finding it funny. We know it's mad. Like, we're not going, oh, this is like totally linear filmmaking. We know we're like making something really insane here, and it's going to be divisive. And thankfully, the reaction has been monumentally positive. I'm sure there's naysayers out there, but for the most part, people love it, which is brilliant. And yeah, I guess it's like when in those, I was definitely having fun in those moments. And you do total freedom, you let yourself go. But like, we're friends. Like, that I sort of err on the lighter side of life anyway. I'm not a very serious person a lot of the time. So there's a big part of it is just me releasing this sort of inner like silliness that I have. Yeah. But then you sort of finish, and then you'd be like, oh my God. I'd let the world see that. Was that the right call?
Yes, it was.
What the greatest thing is, I felt like there was limitless, like no ceiling of how silly I could be. And then I knew that there wasn't anyone around me creatively in that process who was going to go, Jamie, that was really silly. What are you doing? It was too silly. Yeah. It was such a freeing experience.
Did you enjoy the singing side of it as well? Because you used to sing, you were in a band and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? It was part of your world, and it has been as well. Like, sporadically throughout your career, you've performed, you've sung in films and stuff as well. But was that side of it nice?
No, I always say that I can sing as much as the next sort of douchey actor guy can sing. I think like most actors, male and female, can sing. I'm not saying there aren't people who aren't tone deaf who act for a living, but for the most part, you've got this sort of former show-offy side to you, whether you want to admit that or not, the show-off aspect of it. You like to perform, that's your job. And I can sing a bit. I never wanted to be in a band. It was just one of those things that I kind of like happened, and then we were pushed along a certain path, and we're quite far down that path. And I was like, Jesus, I didn't really want, oh, gee, okay, we're on stage. I didn't really want to do it, So I'm very reluctant. I'm a reluctant singer because I did it in a forum that I was uncomfortable. So now when I just have to do it in the odd movie, I'm more comfortable. I guess the thing with this was it's so hard to sing. Edgar's Prayer, it's a proper belter,
proper show tune.
It is. It's big, and the first time I recorded it in Mexico City, I was really nervous. I actually had a bit of a cold. I wasn't feeling great, and I was like singing my heart out, but struggling to hit the notes and kept having to like transpose it down and stuff to suit my range. And then anyway, did it, and I did it a couple of times. I was getting more and more hoarse. And I was like, this is actually becoming a real struggle now. And then through the glass of the studio, Kristen and Annie arrived, and I was like, oh guys, please, I can't.
Oh man.
Just can't, and they were there for all the right reasons, just to be supportive and show love and care. And, they wrote the movie, they produced the movie, and by this stage they're good friends and they'd want to be there, and it's great, but it just piled on the pressure. And I think I sang pretty terribly. And then we, Millie and I got sent an early screening of it, screener for it, and we opened it up. What's the link? Of just the song. Sorry, not the movie. Of just the song. Anyway, I might dance and we watched it, and it was all a lot of sensory overload, as you can imagine, having not seen it before. And then we finished it, and I said to Millie, I was like, "My voice sounds good. Like I'm quite happy with my." And she was like, "That wasn't you." I guess I'd become so accustomed to the backing track of like this professional singer they had do the original track, and I was just now convinced that was me. And then subsequently found out that I didn't really sing well enough in Mexico City to put it on. So then I re-recorded it at Real World Studios, Peter Gabriel Studios, where weirdly, in this whole mad 360, when I was in a band, we spent a week at Real World Studios recording an EP that never saw the light of day, probably for the better. But we were there, and we had breakfast with Peter Gabriel, and it was all really exciting at the time. And those studios are amazing there. And now I do like ADR there sometimes for movies. So that's where I re-recorded it in fuller voice, and I didn't have a cold, and that's what's in the movie.
Burning like my blood's in a pan on a stove, and it's heating me up to the max, so I'm running my legs just as fast as I can, to the left, to the right. I'm a frustrated man. Now I'm flicking my tiptoes to kick up the sand, 'cause I can't understand all this fire that's raging inside me. Seagulls in the sand, can you hear my prayer? I keep trying, but I'm getting nowhere. Heads in a fog, I'm under her spell. Am I in heaven or am I in hell? Leaping, doing the splits from my heart, going higher and higher. My legs spread apart, now I'm twirling like a baby ballerina who's digging a hole with the force of his feet. Watch me climbing. I'm going up a palm tree like a cat up a palm tree who's decided to go up a palm tree. Seagull on the tire, can you hear my prayer? I keep trying, but I'm getting nowhere. Heads in a fog, I'm under her spell. Am I in heaven or am I in hell?
That's the problem with having a wife who's a brilliant composer and musician, and that she's like instantly there. She's like, it's not you. So, and then you're talking about kind of most actors have a voice and stuff. And listen, I loved Wild Mountain Thyme as well. But having, Emily there who, talking about people who can sing, there is somebody who has got some singing chops on her. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we were at the first glimpse of that, long before Emily and I were close friends, and before we'd worked together. We were at her, Felicity, her sister, married Stanley Tucci. They're very good friends of ours. We were at their wedding 7 years ago, and Emily sang like full-on opera, like solo, like a cappella, like unbelievable. Like I think she sang like Ave Maria or something. I mean, something insane, and like pitch perfect. So she can really, really sing, and it's really effortless for her. She'll claim that she gets very nervous. I'm sure she gets nervous, but like it's very effortless, and it does just sit within her very comfortably, where I would have to really strain to get any kind of decency out of my voice.
I love that kind of, I don't want to spoil it for people because it's not out here in the UK yet, but there's a really nice scene at the end of the film that involves the pair of you on stage, which people should look forward to for that one.
Now the summertime is coming, and the flowers are richly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will bear my love about and I'll cover it over with the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, Lassigo? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming river. Will you go, Lassigo?
Do you know what's really weird? I was just thinking about it today as well. We've had so many directors on the podcast that you've worked with as well that have kind of really talked so highly of you as well. Everybody from Sean Ellis to Emma Forrest as well. I loved Untogether. I thought it was a fantastic film, and the way she used music with that Primal Scream track as well, I just thought was absolutely amazing, and such a great way of highlighting how an existing piece of music can, even though you know it, can have a very specific connection with what you're watching. There's no dialogue, it's just watching these two people, meander down this road. But the power of it was extraordinary, I thought.
Totally, and that's what I love that about music, and I love that about the idea of people writing music and having no idea how it's going to be appreciated, how it's going to be used, and yeah, who's to say, 20 years later, someone can't use this track that you had very different intention in writing, or thought it might have a different appeal, or maybe it did have a different appeal at the time and a different effect, but then it can be sort of recycled into evoking something totally different in people in a totally different environment. That's what's sort of amazing about music, and the strength of just a really good song. And film do this all the time, where you hear a song and it's a cover, and it's a totally different take on a song, like famously like Tears for Fears at the end of Donnie Darko. I remember at the end of that movie listening to that going, I really know these lyrics. And I love that, and the power of music in film is massive, and obviously I know more about that now, being married to Millie, than I would have ever before. But now Conor McNeil, who you obviously know, who you've had on, and I have written this film together, and that's a music, a certain genre of music is a big part of our film, and that part is so exciting, like just exploring that world and imagining how that's going to be, how that's going to sit in there, and what effect that's going to have, because that piece of music was never they would never, when they wrote that, have envisaged this backdrop with this song. And I do love it. It can have all these different impacts and different forms,
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
I know you can't say much about that project. Conor was really funny about it when we were talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can't tell you anything." But when you were writing it, did you make playlists or anything? Did you have music to kind of, with sort of stimulation and with helping kind of with mood and emotion and stuff like that?
We did sometimes. We wrote it during lockdown. We wrote it, like me sat here, him sat in London with our laptops open, and final draft, and like the collaboration mode and final draft, which is kind of great, but doesn't work totally perfectly, and only one of you can write at a time. And then if you expire because you're discussing something for too long, you have to like sort of re-collaborate. It's quite a frustrating process. And then when lockdown eased a little bit, I was able to start going to London, and we would sit. We have an apartment in London, and I'd be Connor would sit at one end of the table, sort of 3 or 4 meters apart, and I'd sit at the other end of the table, but still kind of separate. But at least we were in the same room. And at that point, we did start to listen to a lot of music. Yeah, we did. It made sense because we were together and discover music, and it is so pivotal in the movie. That was a great fun experience, like finding music that we didn't know. And then when lockdown eased even further, he came and stayed with us here in the Cotswolds, and we finished it.
Do you ever use it's funny, I always sometimes think when there are really kind of strong characters, particularly within, I guess, more TV than film, where you get to understand them or learn about them in a longer length of time of kind of going, if it's not part of the narrative, like, I wonder what they would listen to music-wise. Like Paul in The Fall, I always kind of really wondered, what kind of music would he listen to? What's his kind of musical taste, sort of thing? Because sometimes the way that can be used in productions can tell you so much about a character that no dialogue can, almost, in a way. Do you ever use that as a way when you're prepping for roles and stuff?
Yeah, I have done that, and I've done that very specifically with certain filmmakers, and with The Fall with Paul Spector. Like Alan, did it make it in? I can't remember now. Did it make it into the first series where there maybe is a moment where he is playing records? But Alan had this idea that Spector's very into blues massively, and that was kind of his switch off from his head. So I'm pretty sure Alan, we did have a playlist or I think I got Alan, because like always, you want to be educated on everything your whole life. I guess you should be trying to learn more about everything. And my blues history wasn't strong enough, really. And so I think I got Alan just to actually make me a general, like, blues for beginners type like
yeah,
that I could then sort of incorporate into developing then for Spector. But yeah, there's certain times, actually Emma Forrest for Untogether, she did this very cool thing at the end where she sort of made a playlist for a few of us at the end, and gave us a playlist of all these songs that had affected the writing of the movie. So yeah, it's cool that I have I'm about to go to Australia, as you know, and my character, there's a couple of music references, and again, I do have to sing, but only a wee bit.
It's like it's written in every contract now that you must sing. He will only do it if there's a musical number.
I try to get the opposite of that into every contract, but even that, I'm playing around with a couple of songs that I didn't know very well. I think music's always really close, and it just will be close to, because it's in everything. I'm not going to do a television show or a movie that's without music. I doubt. So I'm always going to be connected to it in that way, and I love that about it, And actually, I'm so excited then, because Connor and I have doing our movie, and then we've now started a production company, and we're building our slate, and we're acquiring all this material, and it's really, really exciting, and a lot of time and energy, and it's brilliant. I'm learning all this different stuff, but we're very excited about them working with Millie on stuff together, which would be a bit of a dream.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's that thing, isn't it, of being in a position where you want to generate your own, your ideas, and have that output of being able to bring all these worlds together. And yeah,
but you often don't even know what that is going to be as well. It sort of surprises you, and you can find that the without saying too much about our movie that we wrote, but there's a sort of genre that I know a bit about, but know so much more about now, that I wouldn't have thought if I was ever using music heavily in something I wrote, it would be that genre. That's where we set our story, and it's pivotal to our story. So yeah, it's exciting because music is endless. There's no, there's people who know a lot about music, but they don't know everything. That's what's so cool about it, and it's constantly changing, and we're being offered new stuff all the time, and new variations of formats that we thought we knew about. And and I love all music. I think people who say they love all music you can either be, that means they actually don't have a fucking clue about music.
Yeah.
No, I love everything I hear on the radio. It's like, don't know anything about music, you don't care about music.
Yeah.
And then I love all music. You really do get something from all music and an appreciation from all music. And particularly as I get a wee bit older, like in my 20s, I was quite cynical, I think, about music that was like Radio 1 or whatever, even though like I've tried to write music and sort of unsuccessfully, for want of a better term, in the past. I know it's hard, but I guess in my 20s, I would have been like, oh, that's crap. I can't believe why people like that. And now I totally understand why.
Yeah.
That I thought was cheesy in my 20s. I get it. I see the appeal. I understand why X amount of millions of kids would get that. And
yeah.
Who am I to say they shouldn't, you know? But I have an appreciation, I think, of all music now in a really healthy way, I think.
I think it's really interesting, well, in terms of like watching my kids and how they react to music. And they don't, you know, when I was growing up, it was you were into a type of music, you know, it was about genre and stuff. Whereas like now, my kids don't really think about music in genre because they learn so much about music through film, through, you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy having this bonkers soundtrack or combined with the score. I mean, they started watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air last night and we were like 3 episodes in and Spike, he's 8 and he's already trying to learn the words for the theme tune. You know, it's like, it's all that stuff's just brilliant and watching their reaction to things. So I think it's really healthy that as you get older, weirdly, those barriers almost drop in a way as well, don't they? In terms of you, like you say, you kind of lose the cynicism in a way.
Totally. I also just love the idea of another person in the world knowing all the lyrics to the Prince of Bel-Air opening theme, which I thought it was just like, you know, a certain generation, we all know. But I love the idea there's kids still working that out.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel-Air. In West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all, shooting some b-ball outside of the school. When a couple of guys who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight and my mom got scared and said, "You're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel-Air." I begged and pleaded with her day after day, but she packed my suitcase and sent me on my way. She gave me a kiss and then she gave me my ticket. I put my Walkman on and said I might as well kick it. First class, yo, this is bad. Drinking orange juice out of a champagne glass. Is this what the people of Bel-Air living like? This might be alright. But wait, I hear the prissy, bourgeois and all that. Is this the type of place that they just send this cool cat? I don't think so. I see when I get there. I hope they're prepared for the Prince of Bel-Air.
It was so interesting putting it on last night. We we saw an advert for it on something, and they love Will Smith, like Men in Black and all that. So they were like straight in, yeah, let's watch it. And it's also just quite nice and something that we can all watch together. And I was like, is it going to be dated? Is it going to? And they were like just howling with laughter. Because he's so physical as well, you know, always kind of slightly camp dancing that he does. And it's brilliant. It's so much fun to watch again.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the kids into that. Our kids have been the eldest has been into Sister a bit recently. She started watching that, which is obviously not a dissimilar time in like late 90s, was it that came out? So it's a sort of similar time period, and I remember watching it a bit, and also it's cool, and that sort of regurgitation starts to happen for your kids, you know.
Yeah. Listen, I'll let you go, but thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. And maybe we can do another catch up as well when the Belfast is released as well, because I know there's music to talk about within that as well. So
yeah, music's a massive part of Belfast, and I saw a cut of it, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago now, and it's really exciting. It's really beautiful.
Awesome. Well, let's do another one of these for that then, if you're up for it. Thanks so much, mate. It's so great to chat to you weirdly about work stuff, but thank you. Much appreciated, Jamie.
See you later. Thanks.